This is Katherine Tipper and Kalin Jordan, and this is the podcast Planarchy, where we talk about different views on plans, generational, and kind of dispel some of the myths. So today we are talking to Mickie Murphy, who I've known a long time in different capacities in the field. Always a warm, knowledgeable presence, and always very happy to see her in any single situation. So let's start with, our signature questions. Just, Mickie, what were you doing 15 years ago?
Oh, 15 years ago. After a while, that just doesn't seem like it's very long. 15 years ago, I was heading up a TPA practice in the Chicago area, actually down in Joliet.
I still almost can't believe that. And do you know what I mean? I still kind of go, well, it's like Mickey's in Indiana. And it's like, no, when I first met you, you were Illinois. So,
Yep, just down the road.
When you were that age, what did you think you'd be doing in 2025?
I just figured I'd be doing the same thing as I have been for forever. No plans to change at that point. Not quite ready to retire, so I wasn't even thinking about that either. So
yeah, and I would say the industry 15 years ago hadn't gone through all the changes yet. So I would say it's really reasonable to say I'm in a quiet little corner of the world, and I'm just gonna go through 15 more annual cycles, and there's going to be nothing crazy, right?
Yeah, I probably didn't think of it like that though, Katherine.
Okay.
If I had, I might be bald. But yeah, just keeping your head down, trying to keep up with things, and kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah. How do you think those experiences, though, in the last 15 years has changed your perspective and your approach to the finance world in general now? And you have quite a personal story on resilience and how you look at things differently, because 15 years later, you are definitely in a different place that you didn't expect to be in.
Definitely. So 15 years in the industry, so much has changed just with the capabilities of computers. And I'm trying to think, 15 years ago was 2010, right?
Yeah.
So we were still using Excel spreadsheets to track our clients and sending everything out on paper and requesting everything on paper. So things have changed a lot as far as the world of financial services in general. Personally, I was heading up a TPA shop in Illinois then, and then I was for 10 years in Indiana, and have made a shift to more of a consulting position because I did have the accident a couple of years ago, which changed the way my body looks as well. So for me, the 15 years has been pretty significant in how I look at things, because in the midst of all that, we had COVID. So our whole team went remote, and it gave us different opportunities to move around and still be working in the same place. It also gave me the opportunity to continue working, even though I still don't get in and out of the house very often.
Wow, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though I had been in the hospital in and out with rehab and that for almost 6 months, I was able to come back to work within a couple weeks of being released the last time. Worked reduced hours for a while, but I didn't have to worry about getting in the car and going to an office and that keeping me from going back to work. So I continued as president of Blue Benefits then for 2 years after that. So 15 years is a big change.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, like when you go back to that, we call it planning, right? And we think we can plan our future, right? And in some respects, you know the outlines, you look to see what you're going to, either put away or different things. But in the end, a lot of resiliency, just because, like, as you said, you went through COVID, you had to do that.
Right.
New job, going well, but then an accident where you had to go it's interesting to think, because of COVID, we all went home and learned how to do things at home, how much that helps you
Right.
continue working in the field in a way that you can be successful and use your talents for it. Do you know? And if we hadn't
Right.
gone through COVID, and you had to go to an office every day, that would really be painful. So,
Yeah, it would have kept me from going back to work for sure.
yeah,
Um, it, and you're right. The having become adjusted to making changes and doing things on the fly definitely uh, gives you the ability to continue doing that. Even, and that's part of what I talk about is just learning to accept those changes, embrace changes, figuring out what's the best thing that can come from them, uh, and moving forward, looking forward and looking at the best thing that can come out of that gives you the ability to even come back from something as traumatic as having a head-on collision that keeps you in the hospital for 6 months.
yeah.
My team
Mm,
held things together while I was out, which was amazing. Uh, but but I was able to come back and go back to work
yeah, yeah.
from all that.
And I think in our discussions in the past, you've talked about how strong you realized your team was, and how
Oh
you had
yes,
great people who really could step up. And as much as in leadership, we think we need to, make all the calls and all the shots, having amazing people really made a difference for you. And is there
yes.
specific ways that you saw that happen?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, the my senior manager, the way our business was organized, that was right under me. Um, Stepped up and just took over. She's now become president of Blue Benefit. So uh, it was not her happy place probably, and it wasn't anybody's happy place to have to pick up after me. I learned very well when I came back that I kept a lot of things in my head.
Yeah.
New business stuff was in my head. I had some notes, but the poor folks had to scramble to figure out a good bit of stuff. So we learned there were things definitely that needed to be changed. But the, those guys, it kind of gave them a purpose too, because it was a shock to everybody that I was driving home from our directors meeting and then I wasn't.
Right.
So they kind of rallied because they were taking care of me in an extended way,
Yeah.
which was amazing in and of itself because I think when you build a team, if you build it on respect and consideration for the people that work with you, they pay that back and they treat each other well and they I let them know all the time that I loved them. And like I say, was a little careful how I told the men, but I frequently told them, you guys take care of me. You guys make me look good. I just love this team. And so they just paid that back to me, um, and stepped up in ways that I was surprised. She would visit me in the hospital a couple times, and one particular person was saying, they rocked. They got all this stuff out. And I was like, wow, you've been cracking the whip. She says, no, they're doing it because of you. And really? So
Yeah.
it's it's just amazing that you when you build a team in that way that it can come back to you
Yeah.
in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Kalin, do you think of any questions that you'd like to ask in that, or?
Were there specific qualities that you found that your team sort of like a lot of people had that were rising to that moment that you maybe didn't select for beforehand, but now kind of looking back, you realize that there were certain kinds of qualities that really helped that team to kind of stick together and rally when they needed to?
Hmm. That I mean, everybody's still their own personality. I think there were times that each individual took opportunities to step in and do things because they knew that I wasn't there to do it, and Jane was overloaded trying to do everything. So they did take responsibility for things that I was a little surprised by, but they just did. Uh, so it really was remarkable.
those parts of human beings are hard to always know until something happens and you see them step forward. Do you know?
Right.
I think of it as a little bit of, like Mr. Rogers says, when something bad happens, look for the helpers. You focus on the people who've maybe done the huge thing that's the problem, but there's actually people around who are willing to step in and make things happen. Tell me about a time in your professional life where you felt like the odd person out.
Oh my goodness. I suspect you've probably been in the same place, but I've been in this business since the early 80s and many, many times been the only woman in the room or at the table. One time in particular I can think of as I actually brought a guy with me who he'd probably been with us for only 5 or 6 weeks, but I was bringing him into a wealth advisor to say, this guy is going to be handling all of your group of plans, so you have only one contact person. The gentleman proceeded to continue to have his conversation with the guy that I brought with me, and he was asking things about the business, and he was not happy about something that he perceived that was not treating them well, or whatever it was, but he just kept but he would look at John when he was talking, and I realized I'm getting bigger and bigger. We're like in a little conference room, and I'm taking up more and more space. And I'm getting closer and louder, and I mean, it's just finally he responded to me and said, "You're good."
Wow.
It didn't make him any nicer, but
that's funny. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we've all been in that situation where we've been in a room where the people who have the information and know what we're talking about, and someone looks to a man with you that has less experience, less knowledge, and it's just so frustrating.
Yep.
But it is funny. I like to tell myself, Margaret Thatcher sat in those rooms and made things happen too. And not that I'm admiring Margaret Thatcher, but there is a place in a room where you can hold who you are, and that's the secret of, you still are who you are. You still know what you know. And, with a client, a kind of a difficult client that was hard to deal with, we got a compliment back later that he says, you always really know things, and you really always, you explain them well, and you just didn't think that was going to come out of that corner. So there is a certain amount of, it's challenging. It's not the best way to do things, but when you hold your own and keep your space, sometimes it's weird. You get a compliment back, Mickie.
Yeah, that was shocking. That one was. Oh my goodness.
Oh, so this is kind of a favorite question. What song would you play in entering a room? Like, if you have a personal song that pumps you up, makes you feel good walking into a room, what is that song?
I would say Walking on Sunshine.
Yep, which you started, and yep.
Yeah.
Great song. If you had to teach a master class on something you're passionate about, what would the title for that be?
This is an easy one because that's where I'm headed right now, and on resilience. How do you prepare to be resilient when you need it? And it takes a few things: building your community around yourself, looking for something beyond yourself as kind of a bright star, something outside of yourself, as well as approaching things with a positive attitude, and a sense of humor doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. So. You've been given your material for a master class.
Yeah.
You are now forming it into your speaking career. So
yes, yeah, that is an easy one, but it is probably something that I've always kind of talked to others about, and as I've mentored other people, or I've kind of gone through life, because we've moved around a lot. I don't know that I've taught a master class, but it is something that I've talked to a lot of people about along the way. Oh. And I've just been given the visuals to,
Kalin, do you want to go on? And
absolutely. And you gave me a great segue because you were talking about community, and I want to ask a little bit more about that. I've heard you describe your career as throwing your arms around clients and building strong relationships, with CPAs, with wealth advisors. So what do you think it takes to, um, build that community? Like, what does community mean to you in the retirement industry, and how do you nurture it?
Oh, well, as far as in the retirement industry, there were a lot of years when I did not have any type of community. I was working in the banking industry in particular, and they didn't promote belonging to anything. And then I happened into a situation where I was working for a TPA, and the woman was also the president of ASPA that year.
Wow.
So we were in Northern Virginia, and all of the annual meetings were held in Washington, D.C. area until just a few years ago. And so she just kind of said, "Come on, you're going." A little overwhelming with the 1,000
Yeah.
plus people at the first conference that I went to. But I gradually started seeing this is where my people are. They understand what I do. They don't ask me if I'm a bank teller, if I tell them I work with money. And I, over the years, just started getting involved doing things. And that community has been huge for me, whether it's been at that time, it was just people who did TPA work and actuaries, but that's grown over the years as well. So that includes advisors and such. So I've been able to build this network of colleagues and friends, lifetime friends over the entire country in the last 20 years or so. And it's been invaluable, I guess I would say. When I was in the hospital, those were the people who started calling my husband and saying, "Can we do a GoFundMe?" They were a different group of folks who came to the hospital with a basket full of goodies from women, the women advisors that I know, drove down to Cincinnati with things from women all over the country. They sent me videos. I mean, this was my group. I also have a TPA roundtable that Katherine and I are in together. That is smaller. Was maybe 10 people when it started, and those are also lifetime friends. Katherine says she's known me for ages. That's why. And the importance of it is just that you are backed by people who know you, who can lift you up. You do the same thing for them. And community, we see surveys and studies that show you that it's not enough just to belong. It's when you personally give back in some way that people feel the benefit of it. So where you find those mutual friendships in a community is really the best for you and for each other. And we're built that way. We're built to belong to a community. So it's important. And I have multiple communities, my church community, my business communities, and they all overlapped. And it was just an incredible thing to see when I was laid up for so long that I had prayers coming from people from coast to coast and packages of cards from people that I would look at my husband and say, "Do we know these people?" So, oh yeah, I think it's a little church in Kentucky that we might know. And so it was so precious to know that I thought I had worked in the background for all of these years, just volunteering and doing things, moderating a panel or speaking on a panel or whatever. But Brian Graff, the CEO, was on the video that came to me, and I was just he knows who I am,
Yeah.
and personally get on there.
Wow.
So it's just community is so important to us, and I think we have lost sight of that in a big way, and we see people who are making friendships with their AI, or replacing that sense of community with things that aren't working.
Yeah.
So I think one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is to find a community that we belong to and contribute to it.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that in this field there is that kind of community, and that's not what you would have expected on any single level that this would
Mm.
happen here. So,
Yeah,
I definitely,
it
yeah,
is.
it surprised me, like joining this industry, that there is such a strong community. And actually, that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, Mickie. I'd love to hear what advice you have for people like me, like women that are new, that are entering the financial services industry, who want to build their own tribe and find their voice in this technical field, but also still maintain that sense of community. What advice would you give?
Join something, find some, and I this is what I tell people all the time. Find your people and get involved. So whether you join ASPA because you're working with the TPA, or if you uh, if you like producing videos, find a group of people who do that. Just finding the people who love what you love and be a part of it. In our business industry, ASPA is the first place I would look for a study group for somebody, for people who are like at the same level as yourself. That was so important to us during COVID, for our group of folks that are running TPAs or somehow involved in management. We were just kind of freaking out. What do we do today? Everything was changing so quickly. We were like having daily meetings so we could just chat about that. Um, so find what you want to get out of something and join a group to do that. And those are where your friendships are going to come from. Even if they're colleague friendships, they're important to you. It's not maybe won't be your BFF, but it's possible. That's where you're going to find somebody that feels like that too. It's really been remarkable to think about how much that's changed the way that I have lived and worked. The other thing that I came up through the banking business, which most of the officers were men, and then moved over to TPA business. There were more women doing the work there, but the owners and the people who were doing the marketing and that, men. And then all my clients were men. So once I started getting out and meeting, those men. So I can't even remember how many years ago I had been part of ASPA. They have a women's conference, and they'd asked me would I be on a panel. I said, I don't do women's things. And they're like, what? I'm like, I just really don't need to. I've been in business for however long, and I don't really need to. Well, would you come and be on this panel and talk about TPAs and financial advisors? Renee Scherzer would be on. All right, I'll come. We'll pay for your for the registration. Okay, I'll come. And one of the speakers there she was not the most popular, but she was talking about how to dress for success, and she was talking about shopping and heels and all this stuff. And I just looked at the person next to me and said, I hate shopping. And she said, oh, I do too. I use Stitch Fix or whatever it is. And the next person was like, I just call Nordy's and tell them I have a conference and meetings in this. I need clothes, and I take my credit card. We just went around the table, and I'm with my people. They nobody here likes shopping except for one of them, and they're all busy running things and doing the same stuff. And that's been my core group of colleagues for the next 20 years or however long it's been, because it's just we're on the same page. So that's my encouragement.
Yeah.
Look for and find your people.
Yeah.
And get involved, because you're not going to find it just sitting home online.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It makes me go, yeah. So, one of the big things right now that we're talking about in our industry is AI, right? And on one level, it's the most powerful tool in doing all sorts of stuff. But then the question is how to use it and do you have any thoughts on, we've talked about community being so important. The data and stuff we get from AI is amazing, but it doesn't sound like it completely covers it. So do you have any insight on how you feel about AI and how you're using it in your practice?
AI has gotten to the point where I will use it. I'll start there, because until this latest round, I wouldn't touch it because I couldn't see where the information was coming from. But now that I can see all of the sites that come with it, I find it to be a tremendous time saver. I'm doing a presentation on Thursday on new rules, and that I was able to pull that up within minutes from a closed model that I use. So that's pretty amazing. And the information's right. I had to tweak it so that it sounds like me, and make sure that everything was correct in it, but it still saved me the time of having to put it together. I think the most useful place for AIs in that kind of a manner, or in doing some of the stuff that we're doing with software for data collection and scrubbing and verifying and all of that kind of stuff. Like I know you're involved in helping to create that environment as well. I think that's going to be the biggest thing that it's helpful with is helping us with all of that nitty gritty stuff that bogs down people who have the ability to use their brains and communicate with others. So it's not, we're getting away from needing people to physically crunch numbers to where we can allow AI and some of the other automation to step in and do that to free our people up.
Yeah.
Because really, when it comes down to it, what I think the majority of clients want is to know they have somebody they can trust to help them make decisions. I call my financial planner to walk me through, even though I can do all this. My husband does all of our 10-year plan and all this good stuff. And it's still, for us, we still want to know that somebody who's in this business and looks at all that stuff and the investments is saying, yep, that's a good plan. How about, you do this, this, and this. It's having a personal relationship with them that helps me feel comfortable. Our clients want the same thing. They want to know that, that woman knows about Roth ketchup, blah, blah, blah. That's too much for my brain, whatever.
Right.
So I'm going to call her. And it's, I think that we are still so important in that equation, because that's the piece that people want. They can go on AI and check it out, but they're not necessarily comfortable with the right answer.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic. We are in the age where actually all the information is out there, right? It's all out there, but it's hard to know how to relate it, what good ways to do things are. And this is a very complex field. So, and having somebody who knows how it works is vitally important. But on the flip side, when we first started in it, it was like, we talk about busy season and people working incredibly long days, evenings and weekends. And there was so much heavy lifting to deal with the data. And so as we improve the ways to deal with the data, we just don't have to work those kinds of crazy hours, I don't think. So that's my hope for it. Still hoping it all works.
Yes.
Okay, let's just always get into so in your new role with Prime Capital, you're blending deep ERISA experience with advisor collaboration. What do you see for actually the tech innovations for the future of that kind of plan administration in that environment? Is it any different than what we're doing, or did the plan advisors, is it changing? Plan advisors, meaning the financial advisors, is it changing their lives in different ways?
I think it is essentially doing the same thing. It's giving them the ability to analyze more data, to personalize accounts, reports, planning in a way that they haven't in the past. So I know they're getting very excited about what's available to them as far as doing the interpretation of the data to assist them in helping the outcomes for the plan participants. So very much so. In fact, I probably don't have as much work as they thought they were going to give me, because there's so many tools out there that can assist. So I end up having, just the most complicated stuff that is really hard to access. But yeah, it's same excitement for the ability to pull more data together in a more important way, I guess.
Yeah.
would be a good way to say that.
Fantastic. So, Kalin, do you think we've covered the next
Yeah.
step? Or we were
No,
going to talk about.
I'd love to like just talk about it like a little bit more. And you mentioned resiliency. You mentioned your accident before. I would love to talk about, you know, how the challenges that you faced and the adversity that you faced shaped your approach to leadership and to public speaking. And what advice would you give other people who are facing, you know, challenges in their either their professional life or their personal life, and how to deal with those head on, because you've done such an admirable job of that.
Oh boy, that's a really packed question.
No,
I think
that's
I
how I like to deliver them. Pat.
okay. So unpacking, I think not necessarily to say lighthearted, but intentional positivity is probably the best thing to call it. Um, you know, I've always kind of had that personality anyway, but when you're hurting or when you're not be able to get out of the bed, it takes a little bit different intentionality. And the probably the prime piece of that is knowing it's not all about you. So I was surrounded by nurses and doctors. It was in a teaching hospital in Cincinnati, so they would say, "Do you mind if we bring in these 10 people from the class?" You know, so it's not just
You
me,
can be a
right?
guinea pig.
Yeah, but I'm like, what, you know, look at whatever. You really lose any sense of privacy under those circumstances. But I really made an effort to try to get to know the nurses who worked on me and know what their schedules were like and what they were having to do. A friend of mine came and stayed with me for about 6 weeks because my husband was having to drive 3 hours back and forth, tried to keep things going at home, and she was able to do that. And we had people come into our room and say, "Wow, this is just like an oasis," because we weren't, you know, screaming at people or whatever, but it was just that intentional relationship building with even the nurses that were there. Um, so I guess I don't really know how to summarize that. It's intentionally looking for the good in things. How do I bring that out in somebody else as well as myself? It's not just me. The world is not revolving around me. Um, and then planning for the next thing. So I mentioned one of my colleagues brought a basket of things down to me from the women advisors. And she was my co-chair for the conference that we were planning when I had the accident that would have what was going to be the January after. And I had told them, you can get another co-chair if you need to, because the co-chair also MCs. And they're like, well, she came with that basket and says, why'd you tell us to get another co-chair? I said, well, I just thought, you know, if you need somebody else to go ahead and do it. She said, we don't want one. We don't want anybody else. I want you. And I said, I might not be able to get that. I don't know if I'm going to get out of this bed. And she goes, we want you. And you know, I got out of that bed. I was just, I'm going to be at that conference in January. And the last time I was in, I had a little bit of a break, but I was released on December 15th. I told Blue to put me back on the payroll on January 1st so I could be at that conference. So it's looking outside of yourself and for that bright spot. What is a purpose? What is a purpose to get to? What is the thing that you want to happen, rather than, you know, spiraling down into the dark hole that you could go into and say, poor me. That accident was totally random. It was nobody's fault, which probably makes it easier for me to say this, but why not me? I mean, we all drive around in the daytime. That guy just happened to die of a heart attack and hit me on the highway. It's random.
Yeah.
So I could either just become totally depressed, and that happens with a lot of amputees, but I knew there were tools. I could get a wheelchair. Maybe I can do a prosthetic. There are tools to live, and that's just it. You decide to live every day until you die, because you can die inside and ruin everybody else's life around you. And I chose not to do that.
Oh.
And sometimes it's choosing it every day.
Yeah.
I think that should be the subtitle of your talk is tools for life. Though that might
Oh,
sound
yeah.
too small, but I mean, I feel like that's the subtitle. Tools for life. I decided to,
Yeah.
find my
Well, it's
tools
a
and go.
choice.
Yeah.
You
Woo!
know, like you said, you could choose to kind of like spiral and like, or you can choose to find the moments of like joy because they still exist. I know I always think that people who have had like the most hardship, you can see them experience the most joy. Like you need that contrast to truly appreciate like the small things that actually bring you joy in those moments.
I would agree. I just told somebody the other day, if you never saw the downside of things, you would never know how to appreciate the best things. And
Yeah.
sometimes the best things are just finding a really cool bird to see. We had a guy tell us last night he was so excited because he saw a snowy owl. Is that what it is? Snowy owl?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
white ones
Ooh, yeah.
just up
yeah.
here. He was so
Ooh, it's
excited.
pretty.
This 26-year-old guy just so pumped up because he'd seen this owl. I mean, that if you let yourself, you can get excited about simple things like that.
Uh,
I think that's the key.
uh, uh. Wow, I know we can talk forever. Well,
Yeah,
Kalin, why don't you wrap it
yeah,
up just, under the
absolutely.
theory of podcasts? We can talk
Yeah.
forever. Will people go to the end?
We
So,
could talk to you forever, Mickey. But
We'll have
we'd like
to
to
we'll have to plan it
plan B.
come up
plan
here
to
and
do
drink you
that. Yeah.
something.
Maybe
Yeah.
We,
Mickie, you need your podcast and we'll come see you, right?
oh yeah, we'd
Oh.
love to come on. We like to kind of end with the same, couple of questions, and one of them is, what's one financial myth or message that you grew up with that you had to unlearn?
I think having a set dollar amount for retirement that
Mm,
there's all different kinds of ways you can do retirement, and it doesn't mean that you have to have $1 million to retire. I also think that our definition of retirement for the last few decades has been a hard line in the sand. When you hit a certain age, you're going to finish working. Um, those ages that were set by Social Security and the different retirement plan documents previously, we're looking at people who were in industries that just wrecked their bodies.
Yep.
So by 55 or 60 years old, they really needed to retire, and 65 was probably pushing it. But now we just look at me. I'm working remotely. I'm doing things in a different way than you would ever have imagined. I would have retired long ago if I had had to be doing physical work. So I
mm,
think we just need to reassess. Is it truly retirement where you're going to sit around and do little, or poke around in your garden, or is it a shift? Is it looking at what are you doing next? Is it doing something with reduced hours, doing some consulting on the things you've worked forever? But it's a shift. It's not necessarily uh, just a hard line in the sand at retirement.
yeah, absolutely. And if you could rewrite the way financial conversations happen, whether it's at home, at work, at school, what would you change?
I think I'd start with the littles. We start talking about money when they're small. What does this mean? Give them experiences with spending money, saving money, just a different conversation. I think we have really gotten in a lot of families, they give kids a lot on the front end there rather than earning it, so they don't learn that conversation or the value of spending or saving is what I meant to say. So I think we just need to bring that back, bring some financial literacy into schools,
Mm,
and the other thing I would love to see is that we show more women in the field to kids, especially with AI now. If you go out and look for a picture of a boardroom meeting, it's all men.
Oh,
If you try to put women in there, it makes it around a coffee table.
ah,
So
wow.
AI has
yeah,
learned from all
yeah,
the previous information that's out on the internet. We need to flood it with pictures of women because that's where kids are getting a lot of stuff right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Wow. Woo. So, well, Mickie, I always learn things and I always enjoy talking to you so much. Yeah. So we're going to, we post this on LinkedIn. That's one place to see. We also have a YouTube channel, which is Hunter Benefits Consulting Group, and we have our own. There will be shorts on that, and we have our own podcast channel, Planarchy. So that's where to see this, to watch it again and again, and to see other shorts on it.
Repeat over and over and over.
and over
That's what
again.
I like.
So very much thank you so much for talking with us today, Mickie. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're doing with your speaking career. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both. This has been delightful.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
See you at the women's conference this year. So
Yes, you will.
I've bought my
Good.
tickets too. So
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
okay. Take care. Have a great day.